Hello everyone. I'd like to speak a little bit about the energy around the spoken word and how we language into our lives. Now, words have power. They have the power to wound and hurt, and they have the power to kill a little bit of ourselves or another, or they have the power to uplift and encourage and empower. And when we use a word and have an emotion behind it, that amplifies that power significantly. So if you remember when somebody has said, I love you, and how deeply that vibration is felt, how those words are felt. And equally, if somebody says, I hate you, how piercing and how deeply that wound can hurt. So words have power. And if we learn an understanding around that, then we're much more able to use that knowledge to help to create the lives that we would choose to live. Now, in Ireland, we have a great custom. And when we meet people, we'll say, how are you? And most of us respond back to that in an unconscious way or in unawareness, or sometimes even in a robotic fashion. And we'll sort of say, I'm not too bad. Now, not too bad is a way down there on the vibrational scale. So you're not saying you're good or you're well or you're happy. You're saying I'm not too bad. And some of us might say that 20, 30 times a day. So each time you're saying it, you're bringing down your vibration. We use that same sort of energy around, if something unfortunate happens to somebody. And we'll often language into it and we'll say, oh, poor old Mary or poor old Joe. And not alone then do they have to deal with whatever has happened to them, but they also have to carry that vibration that we load on top of them, that they're poor and that they're old. And I remember when I first understood or was learning about the power of language, I used to whisper under my breath and I'd go, rich young Mary, rich young Joe, just to break that vibration a little bit so that that energy wouldn't settle on them. Another peculiarity to our Irish psyche is we're not great at taking a compliment. So if somebody says, maybe perhaps you look lovely in that, and immediately what we'll do, we'll send the compliment back and we'll go, oh, this old thing, we push it out. And particularly with our children. So if we give a compliment to a child and the parent says, oh, well, they're not always like that. Or you should see the other side of them. Or you should see them when they're at home. So it means that the vibration of that spoken word, that compliment, can't go in because the energy has got split on it. And it means then that that child can't use that compliment as part of their foundation and allowing their confidence to grow. So another way that sometimes we do it, I'd often watch people when it was very popular to scratch lottery tickets. And they'd be scratching the ticket at the same time they'd be affirming, I never win anything. So the universe couldn't send them a winning ticket, not then, but also not in the future, because I never win anything. That's the languaging that came out of them. Or sometimes, if something negative happens or something doesn't work out for us, what comes out of us, again unconsciously, is, this always happens to me. So we're saying it's happening now and it's going to continue to happen. Because when we're sending out that vibration, that languaging, it can't work out for us. So the person who really started looking at the power of the spoken word was Louise Hay. And she realized that she needed to change her life. And she started looking at how she spoke to herself and how she spoke about herself. And that's, that's kind of like the inner critic. And she realized that most of her languaging, how she languaged into herself, was negative, placed her as the victim, dumbed her down in some fashion, made her feel less than in some fashion. And then she also realized that how she was thinking and languaging into her world was creating a world that was unsafe and unsupported for her. And she started looking at changing the way she spoke and the language that she used. Now, the first thing I realized with Louise in studying her work was that her affirmations were always positive, but also in the present moment. So one of the things that she looked at, people would come to her and say, I want a new car, or I want a new home or a new job. And she would, you know, what was happening is that what nowadays we would say is what we were typing into our browser was the wanting. So you were wanting and wanting and wanting. And all the universe could give back to you was the wanting, never quite achieving, but the wanting. So if you came to Louise and you said, you know, I want a new home, her affirmation would be present. I live in a wonderful new home, one that I can easily afford and in an area I choose to live in. So positive and present. Or if you said to her, you know, I want a new job. So her affirmation might be, you know, I have a wonderful new job with a salary that fulfills all my needs and working with people that I can create with and I respect. So positive and present. And then over the years, like as we understand now all energy wants to grow, so people started to look at her work and they started to study, why do affirmations work for some people and then not for others? And what happened through a lot of research, it became apparent that the people that affirmations worked for, they always worked for, and people that they didn't work for, they never worked for. And the understanding then came that your vibration, how you felt, had to match the affirmation that you were giving out. So very simply put, there is absolutely no point in affirming, I live in a wonderful new home in a place that I choose to live, and at the same time begrudging your friend or your family member for the home that they have. Or affirming, I have a wonderful new job with a wonderful salary and with people I love and admire to work with, when you can't find one thing to love or admire or respect or care about the job that you're in. The affirmation, your vibration has to match the affirmation. So what came out of that then is the only time to send out an affirmation into the world is when you're in your happy place. And your happy place might be, you know, when you're playing with your children, or when, you know, you're watching the sunset or the sunrise, something that means something to you. Because you can't look at the bills that you can't pay and be looking at them and affirm that my life is abundant. Your vibration doesn't match the affirmation. But if you've just had a wonderful afternoon with your children and you're feeling happy and excited about life, and then you affirm that my life is abundant, then you match the affirmation going out. Now in our family, we have it for years and years. Our affirmation was, I am healthy, wealthy and wise. And it was lovely because healthy was healthy in every level, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually and energetically. And wealthy was not just a material wealth, but an enriched life. So a life full of experiences and good friends and family. And then the wisdom, to affirm wisdom, I'm wise, was a great one to put in, because really what you were telling your inner being or your consciousness was that every experience I have, everything I learn, the people that I meet, are all going to blend within me to allow me to acquire new ideas, new ways of being and wisdom in my life. Now, a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, my Auntie Teresa added in, I am happy. And it was like one of these things when you heard it, you're going, why didn't somebody think of that sooner? So now our family affirmation is, I am happy and healthy, wealthy and wise. And if you look at that, it's much more solid. It's got a vibration of 4, happy, healthy, wealthy, wise. And I look at the 4 vibration as 4 square on the earth, like it's very grounded and rooted. And that's the way you want your affirmations to be, so that they're solid within you. So, and happiness means different things to different people. So when you affirm that you're happy, it allows that energy to come in and touch you in whatever way is relevant for you. So I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. Spend a little bit of time in looking at how you language into your own life. How do you talk to yourself? How do you talk about yourself? And perhaps then maybe create some affirmations. Now Louise Hay affirmation cards are still, all these years later, are still worked with and are around. But I found with my life that the affirmations that I got most good out of were the ones that I created myself, because they were personal. They were coming from my desires and my languaging. And they were passionate because they were things I really wanted to create. And they were positive because I was putting that intention in and I had enough understanding around the spoken word to allow them to be positive. And because of that, they came out with a really strong power and were more likely then to manifest. My exception to that always has been, and again it came from Louisa Hay and I use it every morning, is that I love life and life loves me. And if I get up some morning and I'm not feeling particularly in love with life, I'm a bit tired or things aren't working out so well, I again find my happy place. And for me that might be chanting a few ohms or having a cup of tea and listening to the birds or a new flower that has come out in the garden, something that brings me back into alignment. And from that place then I'll affirm, I love life and life loves me. And when you send that out into the world, your day can only be good. So please experiment. See what the affirmations you would like to create, and then watch that manifestation come back to you. If you like this, and you like this style of work, and you would like to hear and see more, please subscribe to my new YouTube channel. It's Christine's Connections. Namaste.